Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things that you love. Why's my camera all over the place? Guys, I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love. I just said that already. What are we doing here? It's Tuesday night. It's the 17th minute past 7 o'clock, and I hope you're locked in. It is the final Tuesday before we get back to football, but my, oh my, what an international break it's been, with the news for Tottenham fans all up in the air regarding Daniel Levy, regarding ownership struggles. What is the fallout? Who was to blame? Is there things that are not being disclosed? Is it, as all is good at sea, all of that stuff? Well, look, today's video isn't really about that. It's about other things outside of football, although there is some further collateral damage to maybe the ambitions that Tottenham fans throughout the community might have been looking for with regards to Fabio Paratici. As I did say this a couple of weeks ago, I said if Daniel Levy does leave, then, this is before he left, obviously, then Paratici might not be the guy to come back. There's been a lot of rumours about Fabio Paratici's return to Tottenham Hotspur, that he was going to just finish out his ban, finish out the civil lawsuit, and that might still be the case. But we'll start with that particular story. It looks as though, according to TalkSport and other reports that are now spreading that vibe, that Paratici, his return is looking less likely than ever because his boy's gone. His boy is no longer involved. And remember, it was Daniel Levy that stood by Paratici. Paratici was going to join AC Milan when the news broke that he might be coming back to Tottenham back in the summer. The reason why he didn't join Milan was because Milan didn't want anything to do with him until after the civil lawsuit was fixed. They thought there was still mud there, and there probably is. So then the news broke that he was probably going to come back to Tottenham. Well, is that less likely now than ever because his boy's not going to be here and that Vinay's going to want to come in? And Vinay obviously doesn't want... He's already got rid of Scott Munn. He's already got rid of Levy. Donna Cullen's gone. More and more people are going to be leaving. I think Johan Lang's going as well. And so, in all likelihood, Tottenham Hotspur will have to find a new director of football to work alongside Vinny. Because, I've said it 1,000 times, mate, people don't want to inherit other people's legacy. They want to come in, stamp their authority, put their mark on things, and bring in people that they're familiar with. And the first instance of that, the first iota of that, was dropped today on the quiet by Tottenham Hotspur with regards Adam Gardner, who was ex-Arsenal's chief marketing officer. He won't be the last. He'll be the first of many. And I think that Paratici is less likely than ever to come back. I'm not saying that I know anything. I don't know anything. But when you just put two and two together, I don't think he's going to come back, because it was like that with Daniel Levy, and Daniel Levy's gone. The king is dead. Long live the king. But what I do want to talk to you about tonight, and again, this is not a defense of Daniel Levy, although the people that always think I defend him will take it this way. But the story that's come out of Manchester City today or yesterday with regards to the APT settlement, when you look at the numbers and you look at the escalator rule, which allows them to factor in kickers, bonuses, and inflation, and basically CPI or RPI into those valuation metrics, that despite settling with the Premier League, they're going to be allowed to pursue this deal, which over the next 10 years could be up to 1.5 or 1.75 billion pound. That alongside, which, by the way, was aided by, the justification for that was aided by their Puma deal that they signed in July, which was another £1 billion deal for a 10-year kit manufacturer. I mean, we might as well pack up and go home. And this is the argument that I have been making for so long on this channel. And when I have these debates with Lubo or Stel on the Spurs 5, when I have these debates on Sava's channel over the last 3 years, I've been characterized as someone who just defends Daniel Levy. I never have. I have defended logic and asked people who feel a certain way to explain their working out, and they don't. They never do. They can't give quantitative, specific and measurable outcomes that they want from an owner. They just say they want more ambition. They want someone to try give 100%. All that nonsense, word jam, nothing burgers of phrasings. And when I say the reason why you're unhappy is because of the absence of success, 1 trophy in 17, 2 in 25, whatever, all that stuff. I say you've got to look outside of Tottenham Hotspur. You can't just evaluate your club without understanding what it is that they're up against. And what happened yesterday was an absolute demonstration of what we are up against. Daniel Levy wasn't the problem. He might have had his flaws, don't we all? He might have had the reasons that certain things could have gone different ways at times with regards to certain players. But he wasn't the problem. He was trying to solve the problem. He was trying to prevent these sorts of things happening by being the poster boy for PSR and FFP and trying to stop these things that are happening right now, where Manchester City have signed 2 10-year deals that are going to equate to something like £2.75 billion in revenue, £275 million a year in revenue from just 2 deals. It doesn't matter whether or not Daniel Levy nickeled and dimed on a trade here and there. It doesn't matter. If the reason why you're angry with him, or were angry with him, or angry with Enoch, angry with Tottenham, if the fundamental reason was because trophies were all that matters, bro, in order to understand where the gap was, you have to understand what the competition is. And the competition is not a football club. It's not a game of football. It's money. It's greed. It's corruption. And I've been saying it forever. It's the inability for the lawmakers of the Premier League to make a coherent, cogent set of rules. And every time I brought it up, people that were on the antithesis of that argument, I don't care about anybody else. I don't care about other clubs. I care about Tottenham. Yeah, well, in order to understand how much you really think about Tottenham, what you think, and if you think what you think is actually true, maybe you need to understand a bit more of what happens outside of the box. Because things like this announcement today, it devastates competition. It devastates it. It destroys it. It makes the whole thing basically an absolute nothing burger. And it is what it is. And what you're left with is the outcome. And I'll show you some articles that validate my point. I'll show you some quotes from experts that know more about this stuff than I do, saying that what's the fallout? Well, unless you happen to be owned by people who have vested interests in APTs, i.e. oil nations, Riyadh Air for the Saudis, Etihad for Abu Dhabi, Bahrain Air for Bahrain if they're going to get into it. Unless you have an owner with a different relationship with money that can also spin these yarns, you're going to be by a proxy of the competitive gap left behind. Whether Enoch's daughter and son, the Lewis kids, are going to come in and drop 100 million quid, demonstrate ambition, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. And if you're angry because of the competitive gap and the trophy gap, understand where and why and how that starts. And I've only ever told you that your anger should not be at Tottenham. Your anger should be at the inability for lawmakers to create coherent laws. It's eye-opening how easy it is to dance through these loopholes. And so if you really want success and you haven't been on the march of trying to push for rulemaking to be better, you just better hope that the Lewises sell out to someone that can get on board that APT stuff, because it's just going to be insane. Anyway, guys, I'm 10 minutes in. I haven't even asked you guys for any favors yet. Please smash the like button for me if you enjoy this sort of content. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate we're on the march towards 38k, I think now. And with your help, we can get there before Christmas. Hit the notification bell if you haven't already. Drop the comments thick and fast. Let me know your thoughts on this particular one. And we are going to be talking a little bit more about Paratici. I'm going to show you the stories. By the way, this video is also sponsored by OK Jersey. We love OK Jersey. £15 shirts. Can't ask better than that. Well, you can actually. By using code Sean at checkout, you can get 8% off. And they are the very best in the game at delivering. And their prices are unbelievable. Their shipping costs are, I think, well, depending on where you are, nothing. And they're just wonderful. So the QR code is right there, or go to okjersey.com, get your size, go 2 sizes up just to be on the safe side. and go for code Sean, okjersey.com. Appreciate them. Appreciate you all. Let's find out what's going on before I bring up the before I show you what's going on, so we can all talk about it in a little bit more detail. And we've got to talk a little bit more about Paratici as well, because as I say, I think that we're nowhere near through the changes. If Daniel Levy's out of the way and there's going to be some sort of power vacuum around who it is that's going to be taking control of things, well, those people that are currently here, I don't think they'll be the ones that are doing it. I think Vinay is going to be bringing in his own director of football. Top pick for me, Louis Campos. It'd be amazing to go and pay PSG a sum of money that, well, not that they, pay him enough money to get him out. Let's get creative with this thing if we're really going again, because we're going to need to be at our very best to be able to compete if these APT rules are anything to go by. And you know that the next one to do this is going to be Newcastle United. You know it is. And the way that the rules can be justified now, manipulated, just with the APT, forget about loopholes, forget about PSR and FFP and what Chelsea are doing with multi-club ownership, the latest trick in the book that Liverpool are about to do as well with their signing of Getafe, or their takeover of Getafe. Even Burnley are doing it with Espanyol. Like, the game's gone. The game is gone. Let's find out what everyone's saying. Big up Sean, says Finn, the club, although Levy leaving is great for football purposes of our club, but it does leave the question of what Lewis family's intentions truly are. Hope for more clarity soon. Yeah, look, I can absolutely get on board this notion that 100% I can get on board the notion that Daniel Levy leaving the club will maybe open up some doors that are currently closed because of his negotiation style. 100% I can get on board that. But that ain't going to solve the value gap. It isn't. Unless you get every single player that you want spot on and they all elevate above their level. It's money is the key. Money is the security blanket. It can get you out of trouble. It can get you in trouble as well if you're Manchester United. But Lewis's aren't going to be able to do the sorts of things that, 2.75 billion in just 2 sponsorship deals in 2 months. Madness. Absolute madness. More. So, Sean, what Ange do in Forest? Sean, what Ange do in Forest? Well, he's going to go and get them relegated, I think. I think he's going to go and get them absolutely relegated. I personally think that if he tries to embark on his "it's who we are, mate" nonsense, let's just take a moment here to remember that those first 10 games that he did what he did at Tottenham, it wasn't who we were then. No one knew who we were, mate, at that particular point in time. Nobody knew. We took the Premier League by surprise. As soon as it got figured out, that was who we are, mate. And it was a complete shit show in the Premier League for 2 years. And then only at the end when we won the trophy, it wasn't no one knows who we are, mate. It's who we are, mate. It wasn't who we were anymore. We gave up all our principles that we'd sacrificed for 2 years in the Premier League of actually playing disciplined, organised football because of dying on some irrelevant hill, just to give it all up so that he could keep to his own pride and ego mantra about winning a trophy in his second year. He probably will win a trophy in his second year if this year they manage to finish in the Conference League positions in the Premier League, because the team is good enough. The team that he's inherited is good. But it's not good enough to be able to do Ange ball at Forest in the Premier League and have anything other than the same outcome. And if the guy's like 58 years old or whatever, and he hasn't learned plan B or plan C or the art of actually hard work and graft on the training ground, of not just rinsing and repeating the same thing over and over and over again, but actually, doing some SWOT analysis of who you're up against and how to take advantage of them and what they would maybe do against you and how do you cover for those things. If he hasn't learned that that's how you get results, that's how you sneak a point against a team that you shouldn't be, or that's how you draw out 3 points against teams that you should be, then he's got no chance. But you know what? They say old dogs can't teach old dogs new tricks, but you never know. Maybe, just maybe. Big up, Drew. Good to see you, my man. Big up, mate. Smash the like and subscribe, chat. Yeah, listen to the Drew. Listen to Iron Drew, if you don't mind, people. We appreciate you. Who else we got? Spurs Diehards. Good evening, Sean. Good evening, mate. Good evening. Dean Law, Super Stinger. Big up to you, Deanie. Always here, my man. Always here. Let's get the shoot to you. Shoot to you. Appreciate you very much, buddy. Always here, always supporting, always very, very generous. Where else did I get to? Something is rotten in the estate of Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah, I think that there's more. There's so much more going on. So much more going on. And when I see like Simon Jordan, I hadn't seen Simon Jordan's take on the video or any. I don't really watch TalkSport, so on YouTube, and I certainly haven't been listening to him in the morning this last few days. But him and Stefan Borson and most people that are kind of in that way of thinking, that side of the content space, if you like, the business side or whatever, when they analyze it in their side and it aligns with mine, I get so much more relief than being told that I'm wrong by people who are not in that way of thinking. You know, I'd much rather be in their minority than the majority of people that don't see it that way. It's so obvious to me that that not all is well at sea in the boardroom, and that Daniel Levy was the victim of a coup, if you like. Not a coup, it's the wrong way of saying it, but certainly some sort of in-house power struggles and power vacuums. Big up to you, Sander Mellingham. Dean Laws, big up, Sean. Big up to you, Deanie. Steve D, everyone enjoys a good Frank. Tell me, Frank. Wolfie has completely flipped. Him and his panel all buzzing for Ange now, and we finished 17th because we're shit and not on Ange. Is that what he's doing, is he? Okay. The internet never forgets a flip-flop. Oh, you know what? It's 7:30 and that's my first slurp of the day, which to you is probably like standard or even weird. Sean, it's only Tuesday. To me, that's quite rare and it feels nice. I might actually might stay sober all day more often and then just have a drink in the evening. Probably much better for your health as well, isn't it? Good to see you, Steve. Ulrika Johnson, big up to you, Ulrika. I mean, it must be very early in the morning for you, Ulrika. Very early in the morning indeed. Get up, have your shower, get your G&T. We've got some things to talk about. Appreciate you very much. Choo to you. Stradders, let's face it, Levy getting the boot has made it impossible to guess what will happen next week, let alone the rest of the season. Yeah, do you know what, Stradders? I just think be prepared for more surprises, right? Like we know that you've got at some point between now and the 5th of October, Firehawk should come back with a decision, a directive of whether they intend to make an offer or otherwise. I'd love to know. You know what I've always said, like I'm more than happy to see new owners, but I need to know what that looks like before I can just jump on board it. Well, that's a perfect example of something that I have absolutely no clue. Not that my opinion will shape anything, obviously, but like people go anyone but him. Or when Stel says, "Oh, look, you know what? You might get a better owner, you might get a worse owner, or you might get the same sort of owner, but at least let's have a go." Those guys, the Triller crew, that's something where I think that there's. I mean, again, can't find enough information about the people behind it, but the people that are visible, Triller CEO, come on now. That's one of these things where my intuition says no, thank you. Especially if Daniel Levy was like, apart from just what you think of him as like an owner that like has bad negotiation techniques or whatever, all those things, cop blocking, all that stuff. Put all that stuff to one side. A lot of people that were more reasonable with him would say, I think he's done a great job to take us from where we were to where we are, but now we're sort of swimming with the big boys. And if we're going to get to a new owner, we need someone that can come in and kind of take us to that next level, whatever that looks like, whoever that looks like. I don't think that looks like Firehawk. I don't think that looks like Wing Fi NG. And I don't think that looks like Roger Kennedy, I think his name was. Yeah, not for me. But if it turns out that there's serious money behind them and they have a plan and you can sort of understand what that looks like, then you know what, maybe we'll take a look at it. But to me, it seems incredibly risky that these people don't really have too much in the way of sports expertise, historical sports involvement, apart from streaming of other people's sports franchises and things. Not for me. Not at this stage, anyway. The Don ain't joining. Well, I'm not saying he isn't joining, but I'll show you what I've got here. Let's have a look-see. Let's have a look-see, shall we? So TalkSport have been saying, let's have a look-see. Can we get it up on the screen? Oh, what's going on there? That do? Here we go. That'll do for a minute. That's not going to do. That'll do. So Yeah, TalkSport are saying that Fabio Paratici returning to Tottenham Hotspur is now in serious doubt following Daniel Levy departing the club. Fabio Paratici had been unofficially advising the former chairman and his return had been agreed, but that is now unlikely. It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. As I said at the start, I just don't. I'm not that bothered, by the way. I'm not that bothered. I know, like, I spend a lot of time with people that kind of that think that the sun shines out of the arse of Don Paratici. Johnny loves him. Dave, Irish Hotspur, loves him. Jack loved him. Lots of people love him. I'm not like I think he's got a mixed record. I think he's got a record that is. Oh, hang on a second. Hang about. People want to come on. Let me get that. Let me get that link over. 1 second. .com. Bear with me, peeps. Yeah, for me, I just think that if we're going to make wholesale changes, let's make wholesale changes, eh? Is that right? QJRY? No, that's not right. Fuck. Hang on. Bollocks. Sorry, guys. This isn't very professional, is it? That's better. That's better. Now we're talking. Yeah, I'm not that bothered. I'm not that bothered about Don. Go and get me a Louis Campos. If we're really going to shake things up, the only way you can shake things up when you're up against the competition we're up against is by bringing in people that are just masters of the art of finding value, masters of the art of getting this youth system to be actually humming along. And Paratici for sure takes a lot of the credit for what started there. He wasn't the only guy, by the way, not by a long stretch. But let's quickly pivot to. Wolfie is so wonderfully full of shit. Is he? I like Wolfie. I don't know him, but I don't watch his content or anything. But whenever I've seen him on Sabbers now, I think he's quite a smart guy. I think he can put together an argument. I like to put him into a little pretzel occasionally though, and it's always fun. Let's have a little quick look at this. Right. So this is the first story, and this one here is part of the problem. Right, so or part of the solution for Manchester City. How do they justify? Remember, the whole thing with APTs are you can't have abnormally ridiculously high levels of sponsorship from companies that are associated with your overall owners. So look at Etihad, for example, right? The Abu Dhabi Group, they own Man City, they own Etihad, and so Etihad wanted to sponsor them for 1 billion over 10 years, which would be the highest shirt sponsor and stadium sponsor double thing in the game. But then with the escalator effect, and the escalator effect, as I said to you before, is an effect where you essentially can allow it to be bigger pending outcomes such as bonuses, kickers, and inflation, different types of inflation. So that if you sign a long-term deal, you're not penalized for signing long-term deals because the value of money has changed over that length of the contract. So on year one, if it's £100 million in year one, it shouldn't be the same in year 10 if inflation is 3% a year, compounding over 10 years, that works out to be about 35% or something, 36% when it's compounded. And so consequently, what you have is the ability to add 36% on the 10th year, 33% on the 9th, 30 on the 8th, all that kind of thing. And there's other kickers that can step in as well. So that's the way that it can go from 1 billion to 1.75 billion. But the first thing they have to get past is this ability to say, well, it's actually value for money. And they've used this thing, which is the £1 billion Puma deal, explained as another major milestone. This was back in July, right? So they become used. Man City have become used to setting financial first. The first Premier League club to have reached £700 million in revenue has now become the first England to have a kit deal that delivers £100 million per season. Now, you might think that's, well, there you go then. If they can get £100 million per season for a kit deal, they can get the same thing for a stadium sponsor. It's not really the case, because if I show you these are kind of like the comparables. So Manchester City, £1 billion deal was just signed in 2025, a couple of weeks ago. Real Madrid with Adidas signed a €1.1 billion deal, so about 950 million, something like that. That began in 2020. It's again over 10 years. Manchester United and Adidas, 900 million. I'm not going to tell you how low Tottenham's were. It's an absolute disgrace what we did at the turn of COVID. We absolutely screwed ourselves. But Chelsea have got a £900 million deal. Liverpool and Adidas, £600 million deal, so they probably need to get that one renegotiated, and I think that's coming. I think their renewal for that's coming up. Tottenham are still locked in for a hell of a long time on a shitty deal, by the way. It's really, really, really bad. But so you can see that there's comparables there between Manchester City and everybody else. It's not that big of a difference between the best and the other teams at the top. A £1 billion stadium naming rights deal, which is about 25 million normally. At the very high end, stadium naming rights are about 25 million at the very highest level, normally much lower than that, 20, 15, 17 million euros, those sorts of levels for the nicest stadiums and for the biggest teams. And then obviously you have shirt sponsorship deals as well, which can go for about the same sort of money. So essentially Manchester City were trying to double the highest rates of all that have already been seen and then put these amplifiers and these escalator factors into it. And it initially got rejected back in 2023. It got rejected. And then they challenged the legality of that whole... let me get this page up here. So they challenged the legality of it, saying that it breaks competition laws. And they also said that on the basis that, what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander. I am on the screen. Is it on the screen still? Let me just double check. Yeah, it is on the screen. So they took it to court and they lost 23 of the 25 sort of factors in the case, but they did win 2. And it kind of put the whole thing up in the air. At the same time as this was happening, just after Newcastle United joined, were bought by PIF, the Premier League Owners Association, led by Daniel Levy, who is the poster boy for trying to curtail all these things, saying that it's unsustainable, it breaks competition, it's not fair. And he wasn't just doing it from a Tottenham perspective, he's doing it for everybody else. Well, they put the rules in place and Aston Villa's chairman turned around and said, you're being stupid. Wait until the fallout from that court case before you start making these rules. And by the way, you're being very foolhardy because City are going to win. And they essentially did win, but because they lost lots of the various micro factors, they then have settled. They've settled on this court case. And I'll show you what the settlement basically means, right? So the Premier League's APT rules have been enforced since 2021, and despite City settling its unlawful claims, they are on the cusp of securing another £1 billion sponsorship deal. They released statements announcing they have agreed to settle their dispute over new amendments to the associated party transactions. The 8-time Premier League champions accepted the current ATP rules were valid and binding, whereas before they said that they were non-lawful. Excuse me for 1 second, guys. I've got to blow my nose. 1 sec. Horrible cold at the moment. Anyway, so in a nutshell, so they won, right? So in November 2024, Premier League clubs unanimously voted in favour for the new amendments to the APT rules. 4 clubs, City, Newcastle, Villa and Nottingham Forest, voted against the cartel. Chelsea also abstained, I believe, right? And an abstention is the same as a rejection because in order to pass rules with the Premier League Rules Association meetings, you have to have at least 14 votes in favour. So 6 against and or 7 against rather, or even 5 against and 2 abstentions even. And basically you can't pass anything. And that's what happened just this June just gone. And the same last time out when they tried to get together and curtail these ideas of being able to sell your left arm to your right arm, hotels, selling your hotels to each other and loaning them back, women's teams, all of those things that Aston Villa, that West Ham are about to do, that Manchester City are participating. All of these things could have been curtailed, could have been nipped in the bud, but there's no appetite for them because the horse has bolted. The horse has bolted, and they're not just going off on their own. They're taking others with them by doing this back-scratching stuff. We've seen what Aston Villa did with John Duran when they sold John Duran to Saudi, to one of the PIF-funded teams. He's only there for 6 months before he's been loaned to Turkey. And by the way, the Turkish system, don't even get me started on things that are happening over there. Besiktas or Fenerbahce, one of those two, Fenerbahce I think it is, they're about to sign Zinedine Zidane as their new manager. You know how much money he'll be getting paid? You know how much money Andre Onana is making? Andre Onana is on loan to Turkey. He's on loan and he's doubled his salary He's doubled his salary from what he was getting as a flop at United because of a signing on loan fee and because of tax loopholes, tax laws, friendly tax environments in Turkey. And these clubs have got like the big four clubs in Turkey. I think it's Besiktas or Fenerbahce. I forget which one it is. They have revenue that's akin to Leicester City. It's akin to Leicester City, and that they're bringing in all these players, paying them silly amounts of money. No one can convince me that the Saudi money is now not flowing into other jurisdictions via Turkey. It's one big giant loophole, one big giant money laundering nonsense. And this is a situation right now, guys, whereby, without trying to get a little bit pissy and possy about it, but Daniel Levy was trying to stop this stuff. Daniel Levy was trying to stop it, and he was chastised for it. He was being told, you're being a snitch or whatever, and people weren't happy. But this is the situation where you end up with competition that's kind of laughable. Like, how are Tottenham, whether we have Charlie Lewis, Joe Lewis, Lennox Lewis, it doesn't matter who's in charge. We haven't got the money. We can't get those APT rules because we don't have those relationships with people with different relationships with money. The people that do, the teams that do, will just use this new rule to be able to justify it. And with this escalators and these kickers and all this stuff, it's insane. It's insane. It's insanity. Connor's here laughing at me. That new Colombian strain of COVID is a nightmare. Peruvian flu. Yeah. But Sean, you just want to be with the best. If you can't beat them, join them. Yeah, well, I don't know. The integrity of the game, though, mate. The game is gone, right? Like, I hear you. If you can't beat them, join them. But then who do you go and get? Who do you go and get as an owner? The only people that are left, you've got the Saudis. You've got Bahrain that will have their own version of a Bahrain Air, whatever. You have Kuwait. Is anyone going to Kuwait on holiday? I don't know. I think it's madness, and I think the Lennox Lewis, yeah, he might be able to knock some sense into some of the other owners. Did he just blow his nose into a tampon? no, tissue paper, mate. Tissue paper. Ours is a 30 million a season till 30-33. That's the night deal, isn't it, that we signed? Yeah. Yeah, madness, right? Absolute madness. And how are we going to get out of that one? We're not going to get out of it, are we? Let's do a couple of super chats and then we carry on. What did I get to? John Caress, big up, Sean. Does the 2.75 billion deals that City are signing also circumvent the UEFA laws? Yeah, they're absolutely fine. I think so. I think that the UEFA laws prevent third-party like loaning of the hotels and things, but I'm pretty sure. Well, it's not. So when I say 2.75, they're essentially the $1 billion, £1 billion night deal, and that's fine. And then the other one is a £1 billion deal, but because of the kickers, it's not actually officially 1.75 billion, but it will become that because of inflation and all those things that you can kick those things into the contract. And I'm pretty certain that they also not circumvent the UEFA laws. They aid them in their revenue generating, right? So they're going to be up like 800-900 million pound in revenue very soon. They'll be the number one revenue generating team in the world. And it makes it incredibly difficult to be able to compete, right? Makes it incredibly difficult to compete as long as they can justify these abnormal things. And that's the thing that they used the night deal as a sort of metric of saying, look, these deals are not abnormal. But the shirt sponsor deal, the shirt manufacturer deal, those deals are traditionally very high. Stadium naming rights deals and shirt sponsor deals are nothing like £100 million a year. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Thank you very much for the super chat. Andrew Din, big up to you, member for 1 month, says season 3 is on, mate. Production move from Tottenham to Forest. Also, with all the action so far, Lewis family painting them as new, fresh, and attractive. Yeah, I don't buy a word of it, to be honest, Andrew. I don't buy it. But I'm not against the owners, and I was never against them before. I'm not against them now. I'm just not participating in the charade that this was everything's hunky-dory and that it was, nothing to see here. It's a nothing burger. I don't buy that at all. I think that Daniel Levy has been, there's been a power struggle, and it feels like he's been he's the loser of the power battle, the power struggle, and as a consequence, he's going to be kicked out. Hang on 1 second. Someone's texting me. 1 second. I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. We're doing it. Players rising it. Yeah, that's right. UEFA got rules on assessing the full market value of those types of deals as well, but suspect the Puma benchmark helps them. Yeah, sorry, not the Nike deal, the Puma deal. Sorry, but again, no, it's just that it doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. They're two entirely different things. Look who we coming to see who's coming to join us. We got Jay. How are you, Jay? Good to see you, mate.
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I was gonna like do like exercise or go to the gym or go for a walk, maybe even move my funky pants out of the camera shot. But no.
Nice.
In lieu of that, I decided to come on and discuss what's been quite an interesting few days for Tottenham, hasn't it?
Yeah, talk to me, mate. What's your overall kind of vibe right now? I know you've always been someone who, a bit like me, you're sort of zooming out, bigger picture stuff. You don't have this venom towards the owners.
Okay, so on the Levy stuff, yeah. For me, I feel, I know people are gonna. I feel bad for Levy in a way with this, because I feel like the statement is good, Vinay's statement is good, but when you say that you're going to put more money in and it's going to take more money, you're indirectly saying that the money that you've had isn't enough. And you're almost saying, we know the money we've had is not enough. Now, if it's a case of saying that what Levy was producing they could get more for the money, we could be more strategic, we could do better, I think that's a fair thing to say. And I don't have any criticism for them saying, like, let's try something else. I think it makes sense, and yeah, credit to it. But I just feel that kind of statement almost like, the younger generation are going to try, and maybe they're going to be a bit more ambitious. I just feel it's almost like ENIC are the people that put the money in, right? And I find it difficult to think that the way Levy was running the club wasn't with like a thumbs up from ENIC. So if ENIC are going to change the way they want to run the club, fantastic. I look forward to it. I'm going to enjoy it. You know me, I try not to be too like critical or harsh on the club. Like it's just the way I look at it. So I'm not going to start now because it's ENIC. I just thought it was very interesting, the tone of the statement and the way of almost like, all right, we're gonna try and do it now. And if that's them saying that we can do better with the budget we've got, that's fair. If they're saying you're spending too much time trying to build hotels and things like that, and you should, but Vinay was taking that aspect of the job anyway. Maybe Vinay still thinks Levy's meddling too much. I really don't know. There's a lot of conjecture from my point of view. So I guess I have to just sweep it all up with a positivity of, okay, let's see what they can do this last window. We bid for good players. We tried to do some good stuff. So, long may it continue. It's just, 25 years of Levy. It's a new era. It's always going to feel a bit, different, new, strange, however you want to put it down. So, yeah, looking forward to it. But just a very interesting situation. I don't really know what's PR versus what's the truth. These bids, these, people interested in buying the club. The club's not for sale. It's not for sale now. Maybe it's going to be set for sale in like 12, 24, 36 months. I really don't know. Like, it's just a very uncertain time. I think for the football club, not in a negative way. It's just I don't know what we're gonna be, what we're gonna try and be, what we're gonna spend, who's gonna own us. Like, and we've got a new manager, we've got new players. It's just there's just so much like moving parts at the moment. It's I think the easiest thing to do is just try and get back to the pitch and win some games.
Do you think though the Lewis is listen, like you say, we don't know anything, but the suggestion that we're going to have £100 million injected into the club, is that? I mean, it's a step in the right direction, Jay. Right? It's like these, but I feel like the Lewis's children are kind of like taking us a bit for mugs. In the, don't worry, we're going to back the club. Okay, but then you've got this APT announcement that's come out from Manchester City that they're going to have 1.75, like 150 million quid or whatever it is, basically averaged out every year for 10 years, and that's just from one deal. They got 100 million quid in the shirt sponsor deal. 100 million quid doesn't touch the sides anymore. Plus, we still need to sort of, that hotel's going to cost 100 million quid. The rest of phase 3 in the Northumberland Park development, which is those 2 apartments, there's 2 more apartment blocks to be built closer to the station. That's like circa 400 million quid in total, plus the Whitewebs development thing. Like, I don't know, I just feel like it's papering over cracks, and this notion that the witch is dead, ding dong, the witch is dead. No one like Daniel Levy, which I don't believe for a second. I think a very vocal but minority of the fan base hated him on Twitter. But you go to the stadium, and you don't find that.
There was a safety with him to an extent. You knew he wouldn't to an extent. I know a lot of people are very critical, but to me, I always felt like more so than other people, he had the club's best interests at heart. Do you know what I mean? But the club is not just on the pitch. We could want a higher percentage of his split to be pitch and football focused, but it was one of those where last season was terrible, but in the main we were always there or thereabouts within kind of like 5-10 points of Champions League spots, even if we had a bad season. So I think that for me it's just a new kind of thing. Like Vinay's pretty safe hands. He did a good job with Arsenal. But then you look at, Kroenke, competing pressures. Was it all Vinay? How much? When you get a new job, it's like you're going to claim all the credit for everything that happened positively and minimal credit for the things that went badly. I don't know, what he did, what he didn't do. I know he's clearly very credible and good at what he does. But it's just, to me, I just really don't know. I really don't have any expectations on it because, like, you see Bowley when he came in, it took a few years for Chelsea to get to any sort of competency level, like all the transfers finishing 12th, United finished 16th. It's not linear running a football club. Do you know what I mean? It's not easy.
Sure.
There's no proven playbook to go unless you financially doping and stuffing things in allegedly. But there's no playbook to get from A to B to C to D. You have to just go, you can try it in Aston Villa way, spend 90% of your revenue, and then when you miss it, then you're stuck in quicksand or you're going backwards. You can do it slower with a Levy way, but then if you don't spend enough, you're not going to win. You can do it like in a Man City way, but then you basically got UEFA basically coming up to you saying you cheated. Yeah, so you got Liverpool. They still have an amazing way of going about it. So it's just one of those things where I'm just intrigued to see how it plays out. I agree with you. I think people to critique, when you talk about Levy more than Enoch, it's a little bit like a lot of the time it's the board rather than the chairman. But with Tottenham, it's the chairman rather than the board. And I'm a bit like, well, in most of the cases, logically, the board are dictating the direction and the approach and the methodology. So when you're going at the chairman rather than the board, you must think that there's a disconnect. The chairman's rogue or he's doing something, of his own volition without their permission or something. Because otherwise, why you should keep the exact same energy for both parties. Even more so for the people who own the club over the chairman. So
I think it wasn't helped though by the fact that Daniel Levy, everyone was always after 25 years of consistency and the tenure, where his name has always been written in the papers as being the guy that's handling the fine detail. And I feel like at Tottenham, and this is another risk, another unknown, Jay, is that whoever it is that's going to be sort of helping Vinay out now, and rumours tonight that Paratici is not going to be that guy. That those directors of football, those people in the club until now, they probably have had like fairly tight, like Daniel Levy's always had control of the reins, right? So they're probably not getting the full gamut out of their general mandate because Daniel Levy steps in and takes control and is micromanaging all the time. And that's obviously a problem, especially if the guy has burnt bridges with his relationships in that process. And so it's a good thing that he's out of the way. But with that also comes a lot of unknowns. So these other people now are going to have to step up, stand up and be counted. And obviously ultimately sort of fill that void. But there can be micro vacuums that emerge in all different departments of Tottenham's activity now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's going to help with, like, that's the good thing, that you're going to have good people in positions who are good at their job, who are going to have the reign to be able to be good at their job. That's the other side of it for me. It's like, it's the critique of, okay, for what you spent and what we've done, yeah, we could do a lot more, or we could be better even for what we're spending. And that's a criticism that I can get on board with. And if that's the positioning, that's where I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, you want to get really qualified people in really good positions, and then they're going to do a good job. And as a result of that, you know, you're going to do better, you know, in marketing, in scouting, in all of it. So that's the positive to me. Like, you're going to get a freshness in certain approaches, transfer dealings, strategies, all this sort of stuff. You know, it's cool.
But how much do you think we can really close the gap? Because for me, the people that are angry with Levy, it's always reverse engineered by the trophy gap. Right? It's always been like they can fine tune and nitpick, and they go back and remind you of the Grealish thing, 5 million quid. We could have got Grealish, reverse engineered. Hindsight's 2020. Nobody else in football wanted to pay that extra 5 million either. We got Bruno Fernandes. We wanted Bruno. We got Gedson. We wanted Kim Min-jae. We got all that shit. But all of it is irrelevant if Tottenham win that penalty shootout against Manchester United in 2012. If we win that final against City in 2020, 2021, whatever it was. All of it starts with the apparent trophy gap. And my argument has always been, but if you look at and you analyze the trophy successes over the last 75 years, there's common themes. And 100 million quid from the Lewises isn't going to move the needle when Manchester City are out there closing £1 billion.
The one thing is, like, people are like, let it go. I'm like, yo, the guy was in charge of our football club for 25 years, and it's been less than a week. And these guys are like, let it go. I'm like, all right, cool. I hope at your funerals, people are like, hey,
this guy is the most miserable. He's a Levy outer, and he's always coming into my chat, always giving me shit. You're welcome to be here, Mo, but I don't know why you watch my content, my man. I don't know why you watch my content. I'm trying to figure out how it went down, whether it was right to get rid of him. I don't think it necessarily was. I think a lot of this maneuvering here is some attempt to placate fan bases who don't understand the reality of football anyway, who never gave a shit about why it was that Manchester City and Chelsea won 75% of all the trophies. It wasn't because Levy was terrible. It was because those guys were manipulating rules and mechanisms and essentially getting ahead of certain legislation that wasn't really fit for purpose anyway. Those are the things that were the problem, not Daniel Levy. Was Daniel Levy perfect? Absolutely not. Did he make mistakes? 100%. Who hasn't? But over 25 years, for me, he wasn't a bad chairman in any way, shape or form. And yet he is the fall guy based on some presumption that now things are going to change. And I don't think things are going to change meaningfully.
Yeah. So my thing is a bit like, it's not, I don't want to say like Southgate, but Southgate is a good example because I don't want to say that there's similarities, but there's probably overarching kind of thing. So it's like, with Southgate, I remember having so many conversations and even on streams and stuff. And I'm like, what are you, the only thing better than Southgate is winning. Yeah. So when you get rid of Southgate, yeah, you must win because essentially all of your criticisms are you don't win. That is the crux of your criticism. You don't acknowledge the final defeat. When we talk about the final, it's about all the stuff that we should have done to win the game. It's never appreciation of what we did do to get there. Same thing, we lose, like all this sort of stuff. You remember the France game? Yeah. For the France game, Kane misses the second penalty. We had that. We had them in that game. We had them, yeah, like going toe for toe, like good football for good football against finalists, one of the best, and we came just short. Yeah, in a game when we missed a penalty, that team went to play fucking like penalties with Argentina in the final. Yeah, so my point there is now obviously everyone doesn't appreciate what Southgate does. People say, "Oh, he was this, he was that." Now, obviously, now Tuchel comes in. Yeah, okay, football's no better. Camaraderie on the squad is worse. Tactical approach isn't any better. Like, so essentially, you're worse. We're worse.
Yeah.
Right? Worse than we were under Southgate. Now, that's not to say that like it can't be better and stuff, but it's just like I just come in, I've just looked at it very much similarly to you. I think suboptimal is not shit, and I think people have just conflated the two for too long.
Yeah.
If Levy ran us suboptimally, or Spurs as a club were not run as well as we could be, that doesn't mean that we were run badly. It just 100%. Means we weren't fully optimized.
Now, or if you point to Liverpool, you know, if people the counter argument to okay, yeah, City were cheating, Chelsea were cheating, you know, Arsenal on 0-rate loans, fair enough, same sort of thing as an APT. Well, what about Liverpool? Yeah, hands up. Liverpool are a brilliantly run club. So what are we saying then? Unless you are the very best run club within your own means, then you are a failure. Like, is that the argument?
It's like Brighton. Like, so if you look at Brighton when they made Champions League, not Champions League, Europa League, yeah, they've not made it since. Okay, so would Brighton have thought that once they got to like top 7 that they'd be kind of at this point they would have finished top 7 again? Do you know what I mean? But Brighton will be held up as a bastion of how well to be run as a club. Yeah. Rightly so, they are a very well-run club. But what is
successful? Haven't won anything, though, have they?
They haven't played Europe since that. One time they played Europe. Forest have come in, and Forest finished top 5. You know, so this is what I'm trying to say. Is just like some competency is fine. I prefer for us to not like rip up everything that we've got and I'll just see how it goes. Like, it's like people, I see people in the comments are like, well, Bailey Bamboozle is like, oh, mate, like the way I see it is that we're going to be talking. You don't want to, now people don't want to talk about the owners. Yeah, it's funny. Like we spent the last 5 years. We spent 5 years talking about the owners. You don't want to talk about anything but the owners. Now Levy leaves. Now I'll leave it. We don't want to talk about it. But we spent 5 years. Like what? Like what? Like okay, let's talk about it now. You want to talk? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, 100%. But also, you need to learn from what happened, so that you can figure out where we go or try to. You know, by the way, it's a quiet international break week, right? And so we're just trying to sort of chew over. By Saturday, when the game's back on, we're playing West Ham again. We'll get on with business as usual. But you know, for me, I just, you know, I think that there's a lot of change going, a lot of change to come. And whether or not Daniel Levy was, like I say, I think I'm very much willing to meet people in the middle and say that his absence will allow us to hopefully build bridges with negotiations. But the purpose of this video tonight was really to compare, like, everyone that thought he was the problem or that ENIC are the problem. When you look at the inability, which is what I've been saying for 3 years, if the rules are not worth the paper they're written on, and look at the APT thing, and you know the 130 charges are going to end up with a slap on the wrist at worst, right? So, like, if that's what the competition is, then the Lewises are not going to. 100 million is not going to make a dent. 200 million is not going to make a dent. You need to have wholesale changes at the club, and you need to have people that can come in that can really move the needle with regards their relationships, their relationship with money, their relationship with other companies, their willingness to walk through loopholes, their willingness to sort of bend the rules and almost like disregard the rules like some of the other clubs do. You need those people. And if you don't have them, owners like the Lewis, whether it's Daddy Joe or whether it's Charlie or Vivian, whether Daniel Levy's here or otherwise, it's not going to be enough to be able to see that sustainable success, the absence of which was the preamble to all of this Levy out, ENIC out shit anyway. If we'd won more trophies over the last 10 years, no one would be unhappy. But the fact we haven't is why people are unhappy. But the reason why we haven't is not because of Tottenham. It's because of, in my opinion, mostly because of those other things outside of Tottenham's control.
I think you're right to an extent. I think there's still a culpability on behalf of the club, the board, the transfer approach, the strategy, the managers as well, if we're going to be critical and we should be fair on the criticism, it's like you look back and you think, okay, the Nuno stuff was a mess. Really, really, really bad, that Nuno stuff. Obviously, you can be caveated with Paratici was just coming in, but that window, we were, Fonseca, Gattuso, considering what we've done as a club, where we were at that moment is bad. It's a poor, we've done some shit wrong to be in that position where we're scrabbling around about Fonseca and Gattuso to manage our club. Do you know what I mean? And obviously we got Conte, and then it wasn't like we didn't, placate Conte. Obviously stuff happened. Yeah. So from my point of view, it's not like I can look back at the whole thing now and try and be fair and have criticism for, in real time, people might have been losing their shit, and I might have been like, let's see how it plays out. But now I'm looking back and I can be like, okay, well, we messed up here. He messed up in a few negotiations, but that happens. Everyone messes up negotiations. But I think as a balance, if you look at the last 4 or 5 years and you look at our average position, and then you look at the previous 5 years and you look at our average position, it's almost like, you can argue, did he lose his magic a little bit? Did he this? Did he that? I think it's fair that people are looking forward to new people, new eyes, new approaches. It's not fair to obviously downplay kind of the importance he's had, but yeah, I'm not I'll look at it and I'm like, okay, are they saying that we can be better, more resourceful, more strategic, better negotiators? But the rest of it's not going to be hugely different. Right. This window that just went, the players we went for, this and that. If you're saying take Levy out, we can maybe do some of these deals easier, yada yada. But yeah, I'm trying to see where the big material shift is going to be in terms of what's going on, or whether it's just he leaves and we're running a similar way. So yeah, I'll look forward to that.
Who do you think is? Do you think that Paratici, with his connection to Daniel Levy, do you think that with Levy going, that was the relationship, right? Levy stood by Paratici when he had his legal troubles. He kept him on as a consultant. With Levy no longer here, do you think Vinay's going to want to hire him, or do you think Vinay's going to want to bring in his own guy?
I think Vinay's going to want his own people. Paratici's he's not his person. I feel like even if he likes him a lot, there's something to be said for cleaning the decks, and having fresh people come in and fresh approaches. So from my point of view, I'll just say that I would believe that he's going to want to bring in his own people. He's just started with the marketing guy and people that he knows and trusts. And yeah, I'll just say that Paratici, to me, it doesn't scream forward thinking, forward planning, moving forward. I think, the Paratici approach isn't much better. It's obviously better, but it's almost like, when your name's plastered in the press all the time and we're seeing the granular details of what's going on. I feel like Paratici was somewhat involved in this summer, more so than previous, because it was our rejections were louder than usual. Normally you'd hear the rejections retrospectively. We were hearing about them in real time kind of thing this time. So I feel like that's normally the noise that we generate speaking to agents when Paratici's kind of involved versus Lang. So yeah, I think just from a logic point of view, it makes sense for us to move on from Paratici. He's not the only senior football person that's got good contacts. He's not the only person that can find us players. Fresh start.
Any particular favourites you'd like to see?
I would say Gabbanini to come back would be nice. I liked his window when he was kind of had a bit more responsibility. I think there's a lot to be said from maybe looking at. I think they might look at Brentford people, if they're still going to go down the data route. Highly driven data people. So I don't know if Bournemouth have got some good people. We were linked with, I think Bournemouth's guy is Pinto, isn't it?
Let's have a look.
It might be. I think it's Pinto from Roma.
Bournemouth AFC director of football is Simon Francis is their technical director. Hang on, sorry, look. Pinto, you said, yeah?
Something like that. I think
Tiago Pinto.
Tiago Pinto, yeah.
President of football operations, I think.
Yeah, cool. So they got him from Roma, and we were linked to him at the time as well. And he seems like he's doing a good job there as well. So there's always good people, you know.
Do you think you can take back Paul Mitchell now that Levy's gone?
No, not at all. I feel like the how falling out, to me shows maybe with us, it's not always just one way. It's good because to see Mitchell kind of not get on with how they weren't aligned. It's very feasible that's what would have happened with Poch, because do you know what I mean? So to me, it's like that. To me, makes me, when I think about the Mitchell stuff, it can be Poch rejected players. Levy wouldn't give me the money to buy the players I really wanted. I myself was not feeling heard.
But,
fast forward to Newcastle, similar situation. Do you know what I mean? And that can happen if you're not aligned fully. And it sounds like he needs a lot of responsibility. He needs a lot of position. I'm not sure that's what the club want to give up. But again, Vinay will have his ideas of how he wants to structure football operations. And, I'm just a fan talking on YouTube.
No, I hear you, mate. I hear you. I'm just trying to think. So who was it that Vinay worked with?
Dougie Freeman would be a great shout.
Who, sorry, Dougie Freeman? Yeah, but he's at Saudi right now, isn't he?
He's in Saudi at the moment, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, why is everyone in the chat mentioning Elon Musk? Like, what's going on? Is there rumors that Elon Musk is going to buy? What are we talking about here? Come on now. Sure. I haven't seen anything about Elon Musk coming to Tottenham. That'd be weird. Just because people have got money, there's people out there that have got more. You can get as much money together via private equity, but it's not necessarily good. He doesn't know anything about football, does he? What are we doing here? Come on, need someone who's got a bigger picture perspective. Jay, would you rather see money coming in from the oil states, one of those like the Kuwaits or something like that hasn't yet got one, or would you rather get American money coming in?
I'm a struggle. I like the struggle. Do you know what I mean? I like the struggle. So it's like I look at it a little bit more like I've always liked the fact Tottenham was not an oil club. And that's not me having a dig at clubs that have
that organic growth though, right? It's
nice. Yeah, I just like that about us. The fact, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I just like that stuff about us. And I do feel like this is the end of it. Like when WWE got sold to UFC and everything kind of changed a little bit. Now Triple H is running the booking rather than Vince McMahon. Now we got logos on the mat. Now we got prime sponsorships, that kind of stuff. So. Right. Listen, I don't want Mike Ashley. Like, let's not take the piss here. Kane goal.
He scored again, did he?
Man, Tuchel has sucked all of my enjoyment out of England.
I don't even watch international football, mate.
I would have, if Lee Carsley was manager, I'd be fully down right now. I'd be watching Carsley ball. But it's like, yeah. I mean, I just like the fact that we just kind of struggle a little bit and do. With Tottenham, we're plucky with the runt of the big six kind of thing. And I know everyone wants to be the big brother, everyone wants to be the alpha. But, I just like to be in the runt of the litter kind of thing. I like it. You know what I mean? That's what we like. Peak, let me at him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. But obviously, now we're gonna act like a big club. We're gonna act like a big club. Fine.
Do you So you're happy then if it just stays with the Lewises for the time being?
I don't mind American owners. Strategy, data, analytics, yada yada. I don't mind. Listen. The thing is, my tagline when Levy was around was, "I ain't gonna cry for a billionaire I don't like to leave, so a billionaire I do like comes in." Do you know what I mean? So I'm gonna keep the same principle and say, you know, whoever owns our club owns our club. You know, everyone's got kind of unscrupulous things about them.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it just depends on
look up Joe Lewis in Patagonia. You won't find a nice story, you know.
Yeah, man. It's like you see, that's when the Spurs Kings like I know. Well, okay. Well, we played 2 European finals in the last 6 years. You know, I mean, I'd say that I was competing with the big boys for trophies. But you know,
how many other teams in Europe have been to the Champions League final and the Europa League final in 6 years? Not many.
No, that's what I'm saying. So I'm like, come on now, like it's when it's us, everyone just downplays it. It's like nothing, and and on that note, obviously, I know this is not specifically spoil Spurs news. And listen, Godfather, you are right. It is, if you can't beat them, join them. But you know, it's like me joining the NWO. You know, I don't want to join the NWO. Do you know what I mean? You tell me I have to join the NWO. Know what you mean, mate. Is
this a wrestling thing or NWO as in New World Order?
It was New World Order, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if I'm Sting, yeah, and I'm on my own and I'm doing my thing, and everyone else in WCW is getting their ass kicked by the NWO, you're telling me I need to join the NWO so I don't get my ass kicked, or I can stand alone, be like an icon and shit. Yeah, there you go.
Let me ask. You know the other New World Order. Right, the conspiracy theory New World Order, like the elites of the world that control us all. If they said to you, if you ever did something in your life where you're becoming billionaires, right? You got noticed, you shot up to fame and stuff, and people saw you have influence, and you got a tap on your shoulder, and they said, "Come to this room, come to this meeting," and they said, "Look, you can have it all, but you have to go to Epstein Island, compromise yourself, something like that." Right? Well, I'm sure a lot of these people do, right? Like. Yeah. You know, like not everybody that's wealthy is like that, but everyone that's like that is well. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's one of those things where I obviously would say no. I'd rather take my chances just having a nice, comfy life. But it's one of those things where you sort of, if you want to get to the best, you have to sell your soul a little bit, right? That's the way the world works at some point.
Okay. So you landed the point, and it made sense. But there was just a good 2-mile stretch driving through the desert where I didn't know where you were going there. But no, I see where we are, and yeah, it makes.
I wasn't sure if you were talking about Davos or the WWE either, Joe. That's why I started.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, the point is very, very true, and I feel like, yeah, I know what people are saying. It's like you want to win. But we won last season. It's like it's almost like I know that we're in a different competition and it's a different approach, but I don't know. Like I get what people are saying. Like it makes sense. Like we need new owners, but they're saying they're not selling anyway. But on that note, hold on, just put that to
not selling now. Yeah, not selling yet.
Yeah, can I just say one thing, people? Because I saw some people on Twitter, X, say like Ange, you know, like back-to-back Europa Leagues would be great, and I just want this to be very clear. I absolutely do not like other English teams winning trophies that we are not winning. Like I don't like it. Like Conference League, calm, don't mind. That's a little. But if you're telling me that you would be okay with Ange winning the trophy that ended our trophy with Forest this season, back to back, I'm like, ooh, I'm not sure about that. I can't co-sign that. I want him to do well.
I didn't rate Ange anyway, man. I got no time for the guy. I think he's the luckiest fraud I've ever seen personally. I think the geezer. I don't think the geezer has any tactical nous whatsoever. I think that when he was successful at Celtic, that put him on the map, it was because his team that he was working with could play with their eyes shut and still win that league. And so doing this crazy tactic that reinforced his belief that his way is the only way. He comes to the Premier League, gets his arse spanked. As I said at the start, first 10 games, no one knew who we were, mate. Next 50 games, pretty clear who we were, mate. It was very easy to play against. And then only when it mattered at the end in one competition did it become successful. But that wasn't who we were anymore. He gave it all up. So all of his dying on the hill was for nothing because he sold his soul to win the trophy. If he stood by his actual his standards, his morals, his philosophy, the Puskas way, all that shit, then he would have he would have taken it to the end, and it wouldn't have worked out. But at least he could say, "I did it my way." He didn't do it his way, and he was just so focused on I get it done in the second season thing that he's a fraud. And we put up with 2 years of his bullshit tactics. We put up with 2 years of his bullshit tactics in the Premier League.
So I
prove the point.
So I have to come back and be like, I can't say he's a fraud. There's a couple of people, there's a couple of fans I've spoken to, rival fans. I had this analogy like the Emperor's new clothes was that because Spurs fans hadn't seen attacking football for so long, when we saw something, we had to pretend it was something it wasn't. And I always remember hearing that analogy and chuckling, because I still think finishing 5th with Spurs first season, I just, the way we were playing, so he has something. And I think the injuries and stuff like that, it exposed his limitations. But I don't think it's fair to say he had no talent or he's a fraud. To me, it's more like it's just, I think the jury, to me, there's still question marks about it, because our injury crisis was horrific. And I do think still there was games where we weren't at it, or we couldn't play if we didn't press crazily and off the ball. But then by winning the Europa League, by adapting the tactics and tweaking it, does he not show that he can maybe do that side of thing? And you say,
yeah, but there's only 2 tactics that he employed.
You say you'd rather have glorious failure than
no.
You said no. So you say he should have stuck by his tactics and had had his glorious failure. But the thing is almost like
only because he made us tolerate that bollocks for 2 years. It's who we are. We're never going to change. I've said it before. I'll say it again. This is who. All that stuff. If when push come to shove, he threw it out the window because he wanted to get the trophy, because he was so desperate to protect his own ego. Why did we have to put up with it for the previous 2 years? It was a stupid hill to die on anyway. He was the king of dying on silly little small anthills. It was madness. He went out of his way to make this line in the sand, put the stake in the ground, and say, this is the way that we do it here. And people respected him for it. But ultimately, mate, there's a reason why nobody, like Alan Kirbishley, Sam Allardyce, Sean Dyche, all of the managers, David Moyes, all of the managers, Nuno Espirito Santo, those guys, do you think that they won't, like when they got into football, into management, do you think they actually sat there and went, do you know what I want to do? I want to play really boring reactive football. I want to sit back and transition. Like, everyone would love to play gung-ho football. Everyone would love to play the beautiful game, but they don't, because they have a certain set of tools. They have a certain set of resources in which they have to combat and compete with. And they put those that's the way that they play chess to be able to get the best results. Ange Postecoglou doing it at Celtic. Anybody, me and you, Jay, I don't know if you're footballing. I'm not a footballer, right? I never was, but I'm sure I could pick the Celtic team.
Played school team a couple of times. Played for the first a few times. Yeah, second.
You know what you're doing. You know far more than I do. Yeah. I'd back myself to be able to get something out of Celtic, right? Relative to Hibernian and Dundee or whatever. So I don't think it was a good litmus test. He comes to the Premier League with a team, and I don't think it was the injuries that fucked them, because when we got the players back, nothing changed in both seasons. Season 1, wait until we get our players back. Okay, then they came back, nothing changed. Season 2, wait till we get our players back. When some of them did, nothing changed. To me, I just think the guy was a fraud. And you know what? The one thing is, I was a little bit sad when he got sacked, is because the days before he got sacked, I said, whilst I want him gone, I don't think he's good enough in any way, shape or form. I think that he is going to get sacked, and that is going to allow him to walk away from the Premier League, and nobody will know just how much of a fraud he was. And that will piss me off. And so then it happened, and I was devastated, because he gets to walk away as a hero in so many Tottenham fans' eyes. But now he's back at Forest. We're going to find out. Season 3 is happening. It's just happening in a different location, as someone said earlier on. And I think that that's going to be a wonderful way to see if he gets a tune out of Forest and he does well with them, then I'm in the mud and I'll take it all back. But if I think it happens as the way it will, if it does happen as I think it will, I think he's going to really, really struggle.
Well, I think the point, you make some good points. I think Or on the flip side, when I think back in style of play, games, there were some games that we were better, some games we were worse. We started season 2 pretty good. There were some good performances, like Newcastle away. We lost the game, but I thought we played the game, and I thought there was some promising stuff from the team. Like, so yeah, obviously 17th is terrible, losing every game, all this sort of stuff. But United was 16th. They were also terrible, and they still have their manager. So it's
for how long though? Surely he's the next one to go after Potter. Right, Nuno's gone first. Surely he's going to be gone before the end of the season, mate.
Yeah, but I just think sometimes with the Premier League being so strong, it's like when you get into a place where your team hasn't got the rhythm, hasn't got the fitness, hasn't got the players, hasn't got the tactics, hasn't got the quality, you're going to lose multiple games because all the teams around you are good.
Not 22, mate.
Yeah, so I'm just going to I understand where you're coming from, and I think it was right that he got sacked and stuff. But I don't know. I'm not as down on him as you. I think there's still an element of kind of like Brendan Rodgers kind of thing. Like I think Rodgers is a pretty good coach. I just think keep him away from transfers. Do you know what I mean? But I think he's actually a good coach. But he had a terrible run at Leicester. Do you know what I mean? Do you then look at Rodgers and say he's not a good coach now because he had a really, really bad...
No. It's not so much that about Ange. What pissed me off about Ange, it wasn't so much the tactics. It wasn't that obviously became like the obvious visual representation of his flaws. But when I started to pay attention to his double talk, and I realized that he wasn't a coach, he wasn't a manager, he was at best a very, very obvious salesman. And then I just started to listen and remember the things that he said and the way that he was so shameless with his reminding people of when you say 100 things and one of them lands, like the ITKs on Twitter that predict that Tottenham are going to sign every single player in every single club in the world. And then when one of them happens, they say, I told you so. Like that is shameless in the ITK space. And I think that Andrew is shameless with the way he said things and then would remind you of the things that happened.
Yeah,
and try and pretend like he never said the things that
yeah, there was. I don't know what happened in season 2, but I felt it wasn't. It didn't feel as like in season 2 though. There did feel like contradictions, but I do feel that's because in season 1 he had such a free hit to an extent, and we won the game and we scored late and everything was cooking, and it was like everything you're saying is bang on, but by the other token, it's like there was little things that he would say. I remember one thing that really annoyed me was when he criticized Werner. It really, really annoyed me because one, I don't think Werner was ever the same after that. Not that he was great before it, but two was he'd really made a point about saying I don't dig my players out. I think it was like a few weeks earlier.
Yeah, a couple of weeks earlier, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like I don't dig my players out. And then after Werner's performance, he's like his performance was. I was like, nah, stop it, because as bad as that Werner performance was, there was so many players' performances up until that point in that season where you could have been like, nah, that was a stinking performance. And I just feel like it was unnecessary. And that's one of the first times that really irritated me.
That was one of like a lot for me. But the Stonecutter analogy took the biscuit, Jay. It was when he's like, if you're a salesman, or if you've been, you're an owner, right? Business owner of salespeople. Yeah. So you have salespeople, right? So you must have these conversations. I had them, every Monday for years and years and years with hundreds of these bastards, and they'd always come up. There'd be the good ones that never needed to make excuses. They would just tell you they were getting on, and you could just trust them to do it. There were the bad ones that you knew they would tell you what you wanted to hear, and nothing would ever change. And there was the ones in the middle that would be volatile. They'd fly through momentum, all that sort of thing. And they always thought that momentum was the key, but it was actually cadence, right? Cadence is always the key in sales and in anything in life. If you don't let your guard down when you're having a good moment, keep the momentum going, or keep that cadence going, and good things will happen. With him, I just felt like he was a salesman that would always come up with an excuse, always find the perfect analogy to tell you that It's about to change, boss. Things are about to be different. Don't worry. There's a reason why that. I'm not making excuses. I'm giving you explanations, but don't worry. Things are about to change.
Yeah.
And when he came up with that stonecutter analogy, I was like, that's the perfect thing for a guy who's just a great salesman, right? Is if you sack me off, if you can't sack me, and if you do, my excuse will be, I just wasn't at the 101st hit yet. And that kind of it buys you an indefinite stay of reprieve, right? It could be 5 years, and you sack him, and he says, "Oh, it was just about to change. It was just about to change." And he's thinking about those sorts of analogies because he's getting ahead of the criticism, and that's not where your mindset should be. Your mindset should always be on fixing the problems, not trying to protect yourselves from the criticisms. And that's, I think, what he was a master at. But when you see through it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, but I think sometimes, like, this is the thing, right? With that second season, it was so unbelievably bad. Like, it's hard to even just look at how do you lose 22 games out of 38. It's just there's almost nothing you can say that doesn't sound like an excuse, though. Do you know what I mean? Even if I try and rationalize, how you lost some of those games, it sounds like an excuse, because when you lose that number of games, there's no excuse. So anything that you try to do to rationalize it does sound like an excuse. So I would say that I never thought that the players didn't give a shit about the Prem. I'll say this one, like, as in, like, I kind of, people always like, oh, he gave up no, I never really bought that. Like, I was watching the game still. Like, I think maybe like right at the end of the season, maybe the Palace game, I was like half watching, but I was watching every game. I was tuning in. I was on it. So I know these players, like some of these games, I just think the narrative in the second season was a little bit like it got really difficult for us across injuries, tactically, player form, everything. And I think in those moments, sometimes you can criticize the manager, but sometimes it's just the way it is. And I think in the end, with the Europa League, he did well to win it, because if you look at that game, playing almost full strength United with no Maddison, no Kulu, it's like I actually can't think of many other managers who would have been like really good for us in that moment. We maybe just needed, you say, a salesman, an orator in that moment.
Oh, for sure. No, like, the guy's not completely fake. Like, he's not a complete. When I say fraud, it's a massive. It's like phrasing. I should choose a different adjective or whatever, or a different. Now,
you're letting Lakers Twitter indoctrinate you.
Yeah, possibly. For me, I just think he's like you're right. Like, there's probably, if you could take one bit of him and then grab that and then put that style of his personality into a Thomas Frank or whoever else you rate as a manager, it would be his ability to motivate in a pre-game speech. I'm sure he, would have put the hairs on the back of your neck stand up as you're going out to battle. Then 100%, right? Like, there's no one better at putting the right words in the right order. But not every game's a cup final, and you have to have a bit more in your wheelhouse than just words. I think you have to have a little bit more interest. You have to have a little bit more time spent on the training ground, thinking about how other teams are going to take advantage of you and what can you do to suppress them. You have to take a little bit more time to think about the opportunities that other teams' weaknesses present you, and then practice for those things. And it always came across that we only play, practice, and train one way of football, and how is it that everybody else every other manager's teams can get them prepared to go to a back three, to have a back four, have different styles, also, be set up in certain ways to accommodate the opposition, and yet we never seem to do any of those things. To me, it came across as like laziness, ineptitude, and it was all glossed over by this brilliant ability to put the right words in the right order to make everybody believe in something that you're not, which is talented. I don't think he is. I think he's just a wordsmith.
Well, I mean, is that then a reality that we can distill 50-60% of all football management to words?
Well, I mean, yeah, but no, football managers, I mean, the coaching, obviously it comes out in words.
In theory, how much is actually tactics versus words?
I think a lot of it's tactics.
More than
What when you say words, do you mean motivational speeches?
I said words are words. I mean, however you want to chop
like, but the words have to be more meaningful than just like do this for your family.
But tactics versus words. I mean, like the thing is like if you everything I've just realized, everything you're saying about him, like wordsmith, salesman, all of this kind of thing. How much of football and modern sports, when you have natural ability of players, is not about motivation and mindset and putting them in the right place? How much is that, and how much is the actual tactical setup and drilling them with specifically what they should be doing? So my point is that when you call Ange not a fraud, but like it's overrated, yada yada, is that if you then take the concept of he's so good with one half of it, can he ever be a bad manager if that encapsulates 50% of what it is to be a manager?
Yeah, 100%. Because there's only so much that finding the right words to get someone to say, listen, you're going to play your best today, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to find that you're going to be the very best version of yourself at the one way of football that we play. Yeah. And we don't give a shit about the other side of the team. It's like playing a game of chess and not even contemplating what the other side of the game are doing, and whether they move their pawn or whether they move their queen, their rook, or their whatever else. You're just playing your own game and hoping for the best. Like, to me, it doesn't matter how motivated you are, unless you've factored in those other elements of the game, then those people are not going to be prepared. They might be motivated, but they're not prepared. And and I think that where he fell short was in his ability to prepare his team for the various different styles of battles that they were going to be facing every week. And if you can't do that, don't get me wrong, I hear what you're saying. Like, even if you get the most prepared person in the world, you educate them in every single thing that could possibly happen, but you can't get them to be ready for the fight just before the fight happens, then you're still going to come up short most of the time. I hear you. It's a balance, but if you're just telling everybody that they're going to be awesome and they believe it, awesome at what? Awesome at being smacked in the face because you haven't learned how to put your guard up.
I'm saying, like, it's like he's got some tactics. He's just not like Thomas Frank tactics. Yeah, and just as Thomas Frank don't have, maybe, like, he might not have his motivation, but he's still a very good communicator. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not trying to say that words are more important than tactics. Obviously not. But obviously the motivation aspect of it is quite big. You could argue Mourinho dined out on that a lot. Obviously, he was tactically still a good manager, but motivation, mindset, how he spoke to the players, Conte as well. They a lot of what they do, whilst also maintaining strong tactical qualities, is about motivation, no?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 100%. Maybe what Ange Postecoglou needed was a right-hand man that was the Brian Kidd, the Steve McLaren or whatever to Alex Ferguson, someone that could, take everyone. But the fact is that wherever he went until yesterday or this morning, wherever he's gone by himself. So he's inherited whatever he's been given.
So what do you think about him taking coaches with him this time? What do you if obviously, like, we're speculating, but what would you think around that in terms of why now, how come, what do you think his thought process is behind that?
Or maybe, first of all, Nuno takes his own team with him everywhere he goes usually. So Nuno, obviously, when he got sacked, they all got sacked. But so they needed to replace a lot of them. With regards, maybe Ange has learned that it's better to go with a team of people that already know and are familiar with his system, so that he hasn't got to teach coaching people who then disseminate that information again. So maybe there's a little bit of an old dog learning a new trick there to take it with him. That's important. It's a step in the right direction for him. But I was never impressed with Jedinak. I thought the guy was really average.
Fair, but obviously it's like, so obviously we're seeing, is this an adaptation? Is this a learning thing? Is this but then you've also got, he's not got Mason, he's not got Wells. How important, how good were they? In terms of what he was trying to do, who's he going to bring in? I think it's I think it's interesting because each club is a new scenario, and I think a lot of the people that support Ange and the way he managed the club are not overly wrong, because he brought success, and I think, like you said, he's a martyr. Left, right after it, you can always romanticize it. We can always think, what if? You know, it's cool. That's the way you want to finish something off, like with it, leave them wanting more, right? But then
but now I think we're going to find out if Nottingham Forest finish up. Listen, I don't think for a second. I think the jeopardy of relegation for most teams is pretty minimal in the Premier League. Although this season, I think Leeds have shown enough early doors that they could sort of, usually the at least two of the three that come up go down. I think Sunderland have got more than enough in their tank to be able to be to hang around. I think Leeds have got 2 clean sheets at home in 3 games. They're looking like they're steady and stable. Burnley, I don't think have got any chance really. And
you say that, but I thought they got a few jabs off on us when we played them.
They did. They got a couple of jabs. Yeah. Who else have they played? I'm trying to think.
They last minute lost to United, and they beat Sunderland.
They beat Sunderland 2-0 at home. Yeah.
Okay, so they're not like this is what I'm saying. These new teams seem a little closer than last year's teams.
Yeah.
I remember playing Southampton last season, thinking these guys are absolute toilet water. But this season, that's the thing. Like the margins this season are going to be very tight. I look at Forest, and you can actually think to yourself as well. Forest, in terms of XG and stuff, margin, they won a lot of marginal games last season. Do you know what I mean? Just on the margins. So when you look at who they were bringing in, like the backwards, the Hutchinson, McAtee, Luis, Zinchenko last minute. They got Calimundo, Igor Jesus. Like they brought players in. Like
they spent a lot of money and they got some really good players in this summer.
Bro, some of these players are pretty good.
They are good, and I think those players were bought for Ange Postecoglou. Those players don't fit a Nuno style, so that's what kind of triggered myself.
Yeah, and that's probably why Nuno was getting annoyed, because he could tell, because you're bringing these players in, and these players are not players that I'm going to be able to optimize. Hence why players like Hutchinson got left out of the Europa League squad, or he wasn't starting Luis, because for what he was trying to do, it wasn't right. But on the flip side now, I don't know. If you look at the Forest team versus the Spurs team he had in season 1, I would say, I think obviously we were better, but I don't think they're terrible. I think they're good, and I think having all these players, like they've got a lot of players. So if he's learned how to use his squad properly, that's one thing. But I also remember when we would play with a few first team players missing for Spurs, also like after a little bit, our style of play, it wasn't there. The patterns that we started off with kind of disappeared. I remember watching us in pre-season and being like, wow. But one of the problems that Ange has got, and this is kind of a big problem, and it'll be really interesting to see how he tries to fix it, is the way Ange plays, his foot, and I actually don't think he's had enough time off to fix it. Like, for example, I remember Eddie Howe had some tactical issues, but then he was out of a job for like a year plus or whatever, and he went and studied and took time out. But the thing about Ange is, one of the big things I've noticed is he creates chances by by rotating player position. So do you see what I mean? So you see, like Udogie will drop in the middle, players will peel off, everything like that. There'll be overlaps, underlaps, yada, yada, yada. So the problem with that is if you lose the ball or you get countered, players are crazily out of position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah?
Yeah.
Forest have got some good technicians. Yeah? Gibbs White, Elliot Anderson, Louise, McAtee. Possible. But then the key thing here is that is Ange's number one way to create chances. So
the smartest trade I think that they brought in probably was Zinchenko.
Yeah,
he's a left back that can invert into a 6 role for Arsenal. Did it same for City. So it's a very smart thing if Ange is going to continue on his template, right? But if that template didn't work at Tottenham with full squad, didn't work at Tottenham with injured players, didn't work with the sort of B team, and then when we got it back, it still didn't work. If he still thinks that he can do that same thing against the same teams that pretty much everybody is improved, There's very few teams that are not better this year than they were last year, including Forest. But if he thinks that he can do that same model and that it hasn't been figured out,
well, that's like, and that's the thing. What we're all here to see. It's like it's a case of saying that Ange, and I don't know like how to put this because I don't want to be. Ange was okay with getting players like Werner and Johnson, but now he's got players like Bakwa and Udogie, and I'm like, everyone will say that that's his type of winger, yeah. But when given the opportunity to sign wingers of this kind of skill set, predominantly, he did not pick these kind of wingers.
Yeah,
you know. To be fair, he picked like a Werner. No, he didn't pick Werner. But like Noosa was linked and stuff like that. But it's just, I'm really interested to see like whether or not having those kind of wingers is going to help him. Unlock defenses, not have to do all the inverting stuff like that. High line as well. Like,
I just feel like, mate, to me, it's like, Milenkovic, right, is going to get absolutely torn a new one.
But this is the problem.
Murillo will be okay. He's got a ton of pace in him, right? And the guy, is it Cunha? I think it's Cunha, who's the guy that came in from Botafogo. He's a lanky guy, but he's not fast. Like, they haven't got a centre back. Like, they're going to get torn apart if they sit on the halfway line.
Yeah, but I feel the thing is that like one thing is ball retention. How many times when Spurs were getting hit on the counter was it our own turnover through stupidity?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
the ball away or whatever.
Yeah. So we had a lot of stupid turnovers. So you look at like Zinchenko, Aina, Murillo. And let's say Milenkovic, and that's their defense. Then you start looking at sweeper, this and that. I think they've got good players, and they've got, there's not a huge number of Ange type managers. To be fair, like
there's a reason for that, though.
Yes, I know this, but the thing is that if you think about front foot attacking football type managers, there isn't like loads of them at the moment. We're moving back to the pragmatic, fluid, tactically very aware type manager. Like you look at like the companies, I'd say Maresca as well, kind of thing. There's not a huge number of them. So if Forest have gone for this guy, there's he has got some attacking patterns, he has got some good stuff. I don't think it's fair to only judge him off his low points. When there were some high points, there was some smash-ins, going to Villa, beating them 4-0. Like smashing Newcastle up, stuff like we had our moments,
I can't wait to see us take him on, though. I think that Thomas Frank and Cochrane are the sort of people that will watch. We've got a few weeks to watch him, and if he carries on, if he starts playing their system or playing that system again, and there isn't any iterations, any variations on it, I think so many teams are going to smash it. I don't think Forest will get sucked into a relegation battle, but I don't think they're going to finish anything like top half of the table if he carries on playing that system. I think it's just too easy to pick off, personally. Let me get a couple of super chats here, Jay. One sec. Destiny 5, member for 11 months. Big up to you, mate. It says, Forest are not run like Spurs. Ange is in for a wake-up. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, Destiny, whether or not the two Greek men, we're not going to call him Big Ange, we're going to call him Little Ange, I think, next to Marinakis, maybe. Interesting to see how long that loving lasts, my mate. And Spilver Spurfer, even. Big up to you, my man. He says, thank you very much, mate. Very generous donation as well. He says, people can continue to hate on Ange if it makes them feel better, but facts are his trophy cabinet is full whilst you search Frank's train, and ain't no trophies to be found, not even super glued to the caboose. What are we saying here, Jay? Do you think that it's all about trophies?
I don't think it's all about trophies, but I do think that there's like, okay, apart from the fact that we like Frank, what's like, if you look at Nuno at Wolves, right, and then you look Frank at Brentford, right? Who had the better body of work?
Oh, what, overall?
Just Nuno at Wolves, Frank at Brentford. Who had the better body of work?
That's a difficult one.
I don't know the answer. I've not really thought about it. I just thought of it just then.
I think it's a close one. I think Wolves, Nuno was brilliant.
Seventh,
But I think we'll take
seventh
specific
Europa
support,
League.
right? Huh?
Back-to-back sevenths Europa League. I think it's quite not comfortably, but I'd be like, if you gave me a few minutes to sing.
Nuno was very impressive. But Frank took Brentford from way down, took them up, was part of a building process that was slow and kind of methodical, and it took them time to build out their kind of recipe and their systems. Nuno was gifted with that relationship with, I think it was Jorge Mendes. Was it Jorge Mendes, the super agent, who was feeding them all these Portuguese super talents? And so there's just a slightly different. I'm not sure if it's a fair comparison because what Brentford had to do.
My point is not to. My point is appreciating that they have different starting points and stuff. That's why I didn't say Wolves finished this and that. I was just like, who do you think has the better body of work? Obviously, appreciating that you're going to take everything into context.
How long was Nuno at Wolves for?
I want to say 4 years.
To be honest, when Nuno came to Tottenham, I think I, like most Tottenham fans, were like, "What, really? What are we doing here?" Whereas when Thomas Frank came to Tottenham, I was still of that, like, I'm not sure if he moves the needle, but I was less concerned. I think Thomas Frank, for me, gives me a little bit more of a reassurance. Nuno, I felt like he realised when he said, "Oh, I'll make you proud," that whole thing, it made me feel like even he was...
Hold on. But did Frank not say, like, I'm here to win trophies? I know what it is to, like, do you know what I mean? Is that not just a remix of because this is my point, is that, like, I like Frank. I was okay with Nuno. I wanted him to have a chance because I remember the team he had, and it's a bit like now people will romanticize it because they like the manager and they like the positioning. Doesn't mean his body of work was better than Nuno coming in. So when the criticism of Ange just won this and Ange just done that, I get it. I'm not saying that they're right, but I'm saying that I understand the angle that they're coming at, and that's why you've got to be fair and balanced, because all these conversations we're having, each conversation doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a wider conversation where you have to be fair. Yeah. So we're now saying, okay, we're entrusting all of our future to Frank. Yeah, cool. But when we would see like company going to Bayern Munich, we'd be like, haha, look at that. How's he manage that? But everyone has to put their faith in someone. And I feel like the people who put their faith in Ange feel validated because he brought us a Europa League home by hook or by crook. So now it goes to all these people who have faith in Frank based off what he did at Brentford for him to turn around now and prove that he's right. And these people...
I hear exactly what you're saying. I'm not saying people that support the Ange... I'm not one of these sort of content creators that are saying those people are wrong. Right? I get it. It's all about opinions, and none of our opinions should ever influence... if chairmen around the game... And this is why one of the question marks I have about the Lewis children, by the way, not to get this off the topic, but if they kind of like forced Levy out because there was some zeitgeist momentum around Daniel Levy that was a bit negative for a couple of months last season, people were getting frustrated in January when there was 3,000 people, all that stuff, like the fan base, I mean, I do polls every day. The fan base pivot into a new direction by what happens yesterday on News Now, right? And so to me, it's like if you're listening to the fans and listening to their every whim and making your decisions as an owner about those things, I think that's crazy and a sign of massive ineptitude in what's important.
Do you think when we hired Mourinho, that was Levy listening to the fans?
Yeah, look, I think that
not specifically with Mourinho, but like we want to win now.
Well, I think at that particular junction, I think it was the post-Poch era. There was the kind of the frustration with the fact that I've said it a million times. Like I think that getting to the Champions League final in the year that we did, in the environment that we'd just gone through with the new stadium, the £1 billion of debt, all of those things, it was the worst possible bit of luck that could have happened to Tottenham, because getting there and not winning it fundamentally reset expectations from the fan base, and then the reality came back in where gravity takes hold. You get back down to earth, but it's like people buying a stock at the end of a pump. Right. And then you're stuck holding the bag at the top, and it's coming back down to its normal levels, and then you're resenting the company for not maintaining your idiot levels of expectation because of abnormal events, right? So
it was oversold, and you still bought it.
Exactly, right? All that kind of thing. So I think that the Champions League sort of setup there was, if we won it, it would have been different. But getting there and not winning it at that particular point in time for me was like the worst possible thing that could happen. And then so because of that 500 days,
that hurt the fan. I feel like it's one of those where that hurt the fan base, and it was like, I'm not sure we
recovered.
I'm not sure we knew who we were anymore. I think we had a huge identity crisis after the Champions League final, where all the stuff that we did to get there versus who we wanted to be going from there, it was just like, oh fuck, like, do you know what I mean?
And then
like,
you're jumping from pillar to post, right? Don't forget, like, there's all these micro egos that emerge, all these micro things that are part of the memories now, but short memories. Like, you know, the season after the Champions League final, I remember Tottenham losing 7-2, I think it was, to Bayern Munich at home. And I said to my dad, when we were like 6-1 down or something, and we had like 8 out attacking players on the pitch, and I was like, we are. He's trying to get sacked. Like, there's no balance to this team. This is gung ho ridiculousness now.
But I would say that's probably, like, I thought we played fucking great in that first half. You know,
yeah, we went for it.
But we played well in that first half, and we just
right? Outclassed, embarrassed.
No, but you say that, but that honestly is probably the best finishing I've ever seen in the history of my life. In fact, let me find the XG of that game, because let me find the XG of that game, like, because like Spurs, like there was a super chat, so you do the super chat. I'm gonna find the XG of this game before we.
Yeah, I'll do the super chat in just a second. So well, you kept doing that, and I'll keep saying my point. So I just think that what happened there with regards that whole environment, I think that people forget that Mourinho was pitching for a new job in the pre-match presser. Egos were emerging, people were getting ahead of their stations, the fan base expectations were crazy. And then you asked about Mourinho, was that Daniel Levy reacting to the zeitgeist? I think yes. I think everybody as a human being, you are going to be subject to the kind of pressures of the feedback and the fallout. I think we all get that. I think we all know in your jobs, in your family life, whatever people are saying, it kind of affects you to some degree. But you shouldn't be making whimsical decisions if you're the owner of a football club based on the short-term whimsical demands of fan bases that change their mind every 2 minutes. When we lost out on Eze, the fan base on Twitter went into fucking meltdown, absolute meltdown. And then there was like the picture for the protest, and then 15 people turned up. Like, there's a massive difference between what's happening in social media, in toxic environments, to what's happening in the real life, the real world, and those things. So if owners are making decisions based on fan reactions, to your point about Mourinho, about Nuno, and I think you're right about the Champions League thing. I think it did disrupt our process. I think that was the start of our 5-year sort of deterioration. We've fallen backwards massively relative to our competition since then.
So just so people know, in the Bayern game, Bayern's XG was 2.03 for those.
And they scored 7 goals.
Yeah, and Spurs' was 2.66. I knew we played all right in that first half.
Yeah. I mean, but still, at the end of the day,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Isn't that the sort of micro equivalent of trophies are all that matters, right? It doesn't matter what your XG is, it matters what the scoreline was.
Absolutely.
And we were spanked, right? Yeah. We were spanked by that. And the way that game finished, him putting 8 or 9 attacking midfielders on the pitch, and then we ended up just conceding more and more. I was like, what's he doing? Like, there's no balance.
Hugo was built like a 10-year-old boy looking in that game. He looked so tiny in the goal. It's like everything they shot was just going in like 1 foot away from the post. But yes, I appreciate the logic of where you've been with this. We've been quite logical today. It's been more of a meandering chat than a
I always enjoy having a chat with you, mate.
It's always lovely.
Always a good chat. Always a good chat. We'll go for another 5 minutes, mate. If you've got another 5 minutes,
I've got 5 minutes. Don't worry. Everyone else can wait. Don't worry.
Where are you going out? Are you going on the pub now?
No. I wish this is my work jacket. I got it from the ASOS sample sale. Actually, it's
nice.
one of the. Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, it's nice. I like a green bomber jacket. Very cool.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I need a green. Like, Super Bomberman is not the only person in my life that can have multiple garments. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy this little thing.
I like it very much, mate. Very
yeah,
much.
Thank you very much, Destiny 5. That's what I'm saying. It is giving Max and Paddy, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? It's a little bit of Max and Paddy.
Nice.
But what's honestly, I feel like this is a good therapy type session because I don't really know what to think about the club at the moment. Not in a negative way. I'm just like, ooh.
Do you think the expectations of the fan base
thank you
are higher now than they were a year ago?
Do you want to know what it is? It's like I don't want to be I told you so fan. Be careful what you wish for fan. But I am very much a please keep the same kind of energy kind of fan. Do you know what I mean? But I don't really want them to keep the same kind of energy. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like, oh, you didn't act like this before, but it's not because of like Levy or anything. It's just like I think the fans might realize how difficult it is to win. And when you I don't
think the fan base have got the same energy generally, mate. I feel like right now,
yeah,
with the exception of the ferocious outrage at losing out to Eze, with the exception of that, which was like back all guns blazing for Levy for 24 hours, then it all calmed down. But apart from that, I don't feel like the fan base are incredibly excited about the greatest window we've had for all time. Yeah. I don't think the fan base are incredibly like bombastic after winning the Europa League. Yeah. I would have felt like there would have been more like we're going in the right direction now. I feel like having beaten Man United, winning something we haven't won for 45 years, I would have felt there would have been a kicker, a catalyst, an amplifier of the demands, of the expectations, of the energy. Generally, people would have been going, right, go for it now and we can get onto it. But I don't feel like it's there.
No,
I think the fan base is a bit worn out.
It's a combination of two things. One is, you remember in Dark Knight when Heath Ledger is talking to Batman and he's like, I don't want to kill you. Like, I'm like a dog chasing a car. I wouldn't know what to do. It's that kind of energy.
An impression, actually.
Now that Levy's gone. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like, okay, now what? Like, okay, not in a negative way. I mean, it's just like, okay, now what? Like, do you know what I mean? It's almost like I feel this is the thing with the boogeyman.
I think the fans like the chase more than they realize. I think those fans that talk about it's all about the trophies, just like you said, mate, you like the pain, you enjoy the journey, you enjoy the trouble, you enjoy that stress. I'm the same as you.
Right,
and like everything in life, when you get what you've been chasing for, it ultimately isn't quite as satisfaction as much as you thought it was going to be.
If you climb a mountain, you climb to the top of the mountain, you have a momentary moment of appreciation of what you've accomplished, and then it's like, oh, how am I getting down? Or like any accomplishment, because do you want? Oh my god, we've got here right at the end. Do you want to know every time in my life, when I have not appreciated, there's always a higher mountain. So do you want to know why you say that? And you want to know why we say that? It's when you don't practice gratitude. Every time in my life when I've accomplished something that's been pretty good and I've not enjoyed it, it's because I've not practiced any gratitude as to how I got there, what happened. I didn't appreciate it. And I think to an extent, that's what we've got at the moment. Like,
I think the fan base is. I hear what you're saying. I don't.
If you don't appreciate anything, then how are you going to feel happy? And you've lost your equilibrium. You've lost your balance because nothing has made you happy over the last few years, and now you've almost got to recreate your dopamine levels. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think though? Because Connor was. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and I think you're right to a degree. But I also think that the fan base is worn out. I'm trying to figure out whether if Tottenham had finished sixth last season, or fifth last season, had a good league campaign, not a successful one, but a good one, maybe missed out on the like sixth or seventh, something like that, and then did the Europa League. I feel like the celebration, like the 250,000 people that celebrated, I feel like that was the end of a chapter.
Yeah.
And now, there was a moment on that Friday. I was flying back from Bilbao, but everyone was having that moment of euphoria. And someone said here, once you've ejaculated, you want to go to sleep, right? And I feel like maybe we're in the reset mode where we're sleeping off a good.
Yeah, no, I feel like the thing is that like almost to a point where, as somebody that never was like, oh, it's just about the trophies. Winning the trophy felt good, and I appreciated it. But when I noticed other people, it almost felt like relief. And I hear it on the back of a 17th season. It almost felt like the abyss if we didn't win that game. So there was an element of relief. Oh my God, thank God we've won the game. But I also felt that there was an element of, you know, when people have said we've won one trophy in this many years, then all of a sudden, how overnight did it become 2 in 25? How overnight did it become 2 in 25?
Yeah. People want to spin it back to that.
I didn't even see where you upgraded the data with the email.
No, that's the thing though.
It's 2 in 25.
And if we win the Carabao Cup this season, it's you only won 3 in 20. If Levy was still here,
you know, 3 in 20. Like, okay.
Yeah. That's why I would say that the goalposts get moved far too quickly. But I'm not putting that kind of that mood shift onto the Levy outers. I generally think there is a level of exhaustion.
I'm not blaming. This is not a Levy out kind of thing. This is an overall fan base thing. It's that we've all felt that. It's not just the people that wanted Levy out to win a trophy and this and that. It's more like, okay, we won a trophy, and straight away those people, they're getting on the board again by saying. And that's the thing. It's like the narrative immediately changed. It wasn't because the problem was that when you put so much stock into winning the trophy and it being the be all and end all, now it's a case of saying, okay, what next? We want to win more. We want to do that. And I get it. I just feel that because a lot of fans were so, it's all the club's fault. It's all the board's fault. It's all Levy's fault. There was no appreciation of the difficulty to get over
gratitude.
Yeah, nobody appreciated because it was all these people's fault. Yeah, because we didn't achieve it. So when we do achieve it, it's what we should have been doing all along. Like, what are you talking about? So
100%.
That's a society thing.
Do you think the fans will get into this season? I feel like it's been a bit of a I don't feel like the reaction after the Burnley game.
We need some wins.
Even the Man City victory though, mate. I felt like the reaction afterwards was kind of like, okay.
Oh no, I felt it. To be fair, I felt it after the City. The problem was that immediately the fans want to come on and they want to act like the fans wanted to act like the team was crap because they wanted to criticize. Not all the fans. Some fans wanted to act the team is crap. The squad's crap. That this is crap. You know what I mean? And it's like, so then when we were playing like against PSG, it wasn't we're all together as a fan base. Come on, let's do it. It was all like, oh, we're quite good. And then we played Burnley. It's like, oh, okay. And then we played City. It's like, okay. And then as soon as we lost to Bournemouth, the belief cratered. It was just straight from like here to here, boom. And I think that's just.
Do we feel like? Do the fan base feel like sort of like an abused partner, where like
I just feel like we need a little bit. Yeah, we need a bit of rhythm. It's like, you know, when you go into a new job and you got new co-workers, you're not sure about everybody. You're still just, and it's just we need time to build synergy with Frank, the team, the squad, rapport again. Think about it. We've lost Son. He's our talisman. We've lost Levy, our fearless leader. I'm joking. Please don't clip that. And the thing is that it's new. It's fresh. We need new players to step up. I have always called Son the face of the franchise. People turn around and say, how dare you call it a franchise? I'm like, sorry. But I've always called Son the face of the franchise. And now he's gone. Levy, probably the biggest figure at our club for the last 25, he's gone. So I feel like we need new heroes, not necessarily classifying Levy as a hero. It's just got to be really careful on these streets.
No, emerging leaders. How about that?
We need new leaders, new people to step up, new people for the fan base to believe in, because this is like the end of an era. It's like it is the end of an era.
It is.
And
100%.
I'm not upset about fans like wanting, this is closure now. If you actually think about it, Son, Europa League, Levy, that's closure. So now
is that why then we don't need Paratici back?
Exactly. So it's closure. Let's close that chapter. Like, let's move forward. Let's new memories, new heroes, new performances.
Love that, Jay. Love that, mate. Let me get these last couple of super chats, mate, and then we'll round off and go and watch the last, what we got, the last 20 minutes. And congratulations to, in fact, I think someone's just said it. Huge congrats, up Phil P. Huge congrats to Jed Spence, first Muslim England player. Is that right? I didn't even know he was Muslim. Mm-hmm. Fair play to him. Congratulations, Jedley King. Congratulations, my man. Thank you very much, Phil. Appreciate you. NSG saying, I'm just looking forward to talking about anything but Levy for the next years. It has become so polarizing the past 5 years. It's the same I feel about Ange. Do you know what, NSG?
But Inez says that, but Inez, I don't think this fan base is truly ready for, like, the fan base, I believe, and I don't want to be too critical, there's still a fair amount of hatred in the fan base. I feel like, and this is the problem, now Levy's gone.
Who's the next? Who's the villain? Who's going to be the villain now?
Yeah, there's always a villain in our fan base. The hatred's got to go somewhere. It always has. It always will. And it's unfortunate, but, it'd be nice to just talk about the football and the tactics. But it's funny because when we wanted to do that in the last few years, it wasn't the people that wanted to talk about the tactics and the football who were bringing up Levy. It was the other people, who were upset with how the club was being run. And I'm not saying you were wrong or people were wrong to bring it up. I'm just merely saying that the divisive aspect of it was because people wanted to be confrontational because it was a subject that a lot of people were very passionate about.
Yeah. You're absolutely spot on, Jay. You're absolutely spot on. The amount of people that I've had to sit there and watch talk about Daniel Levy every single time I try to talk about something else comes back to Levy. And then as soon as Levy's
we're doing right now. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like,
100%.
It's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't matter. He's the albatross around the club's neck. And I'd make the argument until we win again. Yeah. Should we have got rid of Levy? He just won you a trophy. That's gonna hang with Ange.
100%, mate. 100%. It'd be interesting who will be the new villain. I hope it's not Thomas Frank, but someone's going to have to play the role because
honestly,
there has to be a villain, mate. There has to be somewhere to park your frustrations.
Yeah. Frank will sort it out, but I mean, like, that game against Bournemouth was a bad game. Yeah, I don't think the fans will give him. You get a couple more of those, but I don't think the fans are going to give him loads and loads and loads of rope for those kind of performances. So,
do you know what, Joe? I think I hadn't thought of it that way, mate. Because Johnny's a massive Frank my man Johnny. Yeah. He's a massive Frank advocate, and he's always been saying to me all summer, they won't give the Ange inners won't give Thomas Frank any rope at all.
Not at all.
And I think that he's probably right about that, even if Levy was still here. But now that Levy's gone, someone has to play the villain. It's going to be Thomas Frank.
Johnny has to also be balanced because I know if Ange gave us that performance, and he did. Like, we had performances like that a couple of times. I think Palace was particularly bad. I think that was obviously Liverpool.
Brighton second half. There was loads of them. Yeah, it was shocking.
Yeah, so it was like big up Johnny, but Johnny would have flambéed Ange for that kind of flambéed him over an open fire for that kind of performance. So I know, like, that's what I'm saying. This hybrid ball. When people saying, like, do you remember when we played United, and lost 3-0 at home? In the Nuno.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was his last game. Took off Lucas for Berghvall and everyone booed.
Yeah. I remember that.
That performance that we put against Bournemouth was no better than that performance, by the way.
Yeah, Bournemouth was absolutely fucking shocking, mate. It was shocking. We were
That's what I'm saying. Like, the performance Nuno put out with that game was like was against United. Like, the performance we put against Bournemouth was no better than that. Like, it was it arguably could have been worse.
Yeah. I think we got one shot on target, and it was a deflected shot. Maybe it didn't even count. It was the worst. That was the worst performance I've seen for home. It was just unexpectedly poor after beating City.
Was it how we were pretty? Think about it now. Yeah, think about it. If you actually overtly break down our preseason, yeah, like how many low blocks did we play? How many teams did we play where we'd have 60% plus possession? Yeah. And how did we fare in those games from a creativity point of view? Because we haven't had a playmaker. So Simmons has a lot of responsibility on him coming into this game.
Yeah.
Because that's the big thing we've not had, a playmaker. So I'm hoping that he's going to plug in and do really well, and help us.
I think he will, and I love Simmons. I think, by the way, I think he's the best of all of the 10s that we could have got this year. But there's an element to him that can look incredibly languid. Yeah. There will be people, if he doesn't start, well, he might end up being the villain, by the way, if because of the expectations and the commands and the demands around his neck, like you say, that albatross around his neck. If he doesn't hit the ground running, and then that languid kind of visit, like that sort of kind of carefreeness starts to emerge, I think that there might be a chance that he is that he becomes a frustrating player for some that are that don't see through it. But he is an absolute baller when he's on. He's absolutely sensational, and Kolo Muani as well. I can't wait for Saturday to see Kolo Muani, to see Xavi, to see
Muani. I think Muani's going to be great. I really think Muani's going to be great. Like I feel like he might be the, like, I don't want to say he's going to be like the best, but I think Muani's like.
I think that will be the catalyst, mate. Last question, because I'm talking about, because I genuinely feel that right now, having just lost to Bournemouth, then all this change, when the international break, everyone disappears. No one gives a shit about Tottenham generally or any other football club in the international break. Everyone's just sort of gone and done their holidays, and then because we've signed these two players, but we haven't yet seen them play yet. It's kind of like it's a weird vibe to like have signed them a couple of weeks ago, but not actually seen them play. So like, I just wonder whether or not, if we see Xavi, Kolo Muani, Kudus, and say Richalison or whatever as the front four, and then we actually end up doing bits against West Ham, and they all have good games.
You know what? I won't lie. I'm actually worried about the West Ham game.
Why?
Because I think just before the window, they stumbled upon something, like in that Forest game, and I'm like, because Somerville's fit, Somerville, Porro, yeah, Wilson's fit, yeah. So now, from all the trash that they've been doing, now their attack is Somerville, Wilson, Paqueta, Bowen, and that's okay. Do you know what I mean?
It's handy. It's handy.
Yeah, it's all right. It's a bit
yeah.
You boys better be focused. Don't be pissing about,
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting a ticket and going and sitting in the home section. They've still got general sale tickets on the game. I don't know if you probably get a better view from my bedroom,
I can see, and they've got Fernandez too, from Matheus Fernandez from Southampton.
Very good player.
Excuse me. So yeah, I mean, we better be on it in this game. Like, do you know what I mean? If Frank's smart, like Porro's gonna start, but like Porro needs a good game against a decent winger. He's been getting bent over these last few weeks. Do you know what I mean? Even against, like, not Burnley as much, but Doku had him up when he came on.
Mate, listen, it begs the question. Last question before you, then we'll round off. Is there a viability when Udogie comes back that actually Thomas Frank just sees Pedro Porro being the scapegoat for every tactic against us? When we talk about this SWOT analysis, every team just looks at Porro and says, "Get your big boy to get the ball to the big boy. Put the big boy, if he's versatile, on the left. Let them go at Porro." You're right. He gets absolutely toasted defensively every single game. Mm-hmm. Against Bournemouth, he was too easy to play against.
It was.
Couldn't you just move him into the midfield?
No, I mean, we got so many attackers. With like the inverted gimmick would only work if you had if you hadn't played Van der Ven
or play a back three, or play a back three a bit more often than we have.
Well, yeah, but I think the thing is that it's one of those where we've got like 8, 9 attackers. Like, why, again, squad building, why you got 9 attackers if you only want to put 4 of them on the pitch, three of them on the pitch at one time, which is what you'd be doing if you played a back 3.
Necessarily, you could play a 3-4-3.
Yeah, but then the 4, so you'd still only have 3 attackers on the pitch at one time. Whereas at least with a 4 at the back, you're going to get 4 attackers on because you'll have a number 10 at least, probably. So,
Right.
otherwise,
I think the other option would be just to give Polini like a specific instruction to come and sit deeper and then push Romero a little bit further out and stuff. But like, you need to help Romero out because Jared Bowen could easily be shifted onto the left. Paqueta can just cause all sorts of mayhem on it, slightly more on the left hand side. Obviously, Fernandez as well can do that damage out there. And to me, it's just. It's a concern. But if you can fix the Pedro Porro conundrum, then I think Tottenham will be fine. But it is I hear you. It is a problem. It is a concern we have.
I'm not supposed to say it's a concern yet, but I think the thing is that I guess he played one of the top 3-4 left wingers in the league in Semenyo, and they switched him because he was playing on the right. I swear, versus Liverpool more. He was on the other side of the pitch, so they swapped him over. So to an extent, he's getting targeted.
Exactly. So, when was the last time he pocketed a left winger?
No, it's been a while.
I can't remember ever doing it, to be entirely honest. Needs to be figured out because most teams have got a danger man on the left, or at least someone who's out there.
Yeah, he was good. He was good against. He said Marmoush, but Marmoush.
I just think Marmoush was shit that day.
I think Marmoush just had a bad game.
Yeah, I don't think it was Porro. I think it was just Marmoush being.
Then again, Porro probably contributed it.
Anyway, Jay, we're going to round it off there, mate. But thank you so much for coming on, mate. I really enjoyed the chat as always, mate. Chatting with you are a fun time. Appreciate it very much.
You've been electric all night. Thank you very much for having me. I'm sure I'll be back.
I hope so, buddy. Please get over to @JRatedR on Twitter. Guys, thank you so much for hanging around us this evening. Big up to Jedley King making his England debut. Big up to all in the Super Chats. Big up to everyone. We'll see you tomorrow morning for some Bugsy time. And we'll leave it there. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,